Okay, so today we're going to be doing some reviews. We're going to be talking about Percy Jackson Book 4 and Legendborn. This is middle grade fantasy, and this is YA urban fantasy / contemporary fantasy. Spoilers for this one, spoiler free for this one. Timestamps in the description if you want to skip around. Percy Jackson Book 4, we'll talk about that first. I am still casually enjoying this series. I don't love it to the extent that the fandom desperately wants me to, but I am enjoying myself working through the books slowly. Spoiler-free thoughts, I am enjoying the build-up of the characters. I think that these characters are maturing a lot, learning a lot, sometimes making the same mistakes over and over again that they've made in past books, but they're still kids, so it's realistic. But I'm enjoying watching these characters grow, watching them mature, watching them kind of start facing more complex emotions. I definitely think in book one of my major problems was that sometimes complex emotions would come up and just kind of not be explored at all. And that's changing a lot as the series progresses. So I guess it's growing up with the characters very, very well. A lot of people promised me that the formula would end in book 4. Part of my problem with this series has been that it's very formulaic. It seems like a lot of the same stuff is happening, or it feels like there's the same formula happening within the books, like quest, and then some sort of conflict, and then move a little bit, conflict, move a little bit, conflict. It's very serial, which is just not something I like. I just don't enjoy serial books, serialized books. And Percy Jackson is that. I've been informed that apparently Greek mythology in general is that, which is why Percy Jackson is that way. And it's just not my preference, and a lot of the same stuff comes up from book to book. And while I do agree that book 4 is far less formulaic, it still is. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that's like, oh, we did that in all these other books. Yep, we're doing it again. Okay, sure, why not? And it's not my favorite, but I'm really loving these characters. I'm liking some of the new characters that are coming in, and of course, I just really had fun in the labyrinth because I love labyrinths. I don't know why, I just do. So now, spoilers, some highlights that I enjoyed. Skip to the next book if you don't want to be spoiled. Rachel, I've been waiting for her to come back. I don't know why I said it that way because she just showed up in the last book, but her scene in the last book was significant enough that I knew she was coming back. You know, I knew that she wasn't just someone who could see through the mist who conveniently helped Percy one time and they had a little bit of a connection. We'll never talk to her again. I mean, of course she's coming back, and I didn't expect her to come back with such vengeance. I didn't expect her to be so important to the series, but I'm glad she is because I like her pretty well. I think she's a very interesting character, and I enjoyed hanging out with her as much as I did. I didn't love everything about her new dynamic. You know, she was kind of the predictable, forced drama to delay or to escalate the relationship between Percy and Annabeth a little bit more. You know, like that extra bit of drama before they actually get together. And I didn't love this because I'm not a fan of, okay, so Percy, he's interested in Annabeth. And Annabeth, and now Rachel's here, and now he's like, well, maybe I like her too. And so then these two girls who Percy maybe kind of likes hate each other or just don't get along well for not really a good reason other than we like the same boy. I mean, I didn't love their conflict. I felt like it was a little bit too much like girl hate. I don't know. I'm pretty particular about this stuff. A lot of times love triangles, which this isn't a full-fledged love triangle, but these sort of dynamics, I'd rather eliminate the needless drama. And then Annabeth, I guess, still has kind of feelings for Luke, so there's also a little bit of a triangle going on there. And then maybe Annabeth flirted with Nico a little bit there at the end. That scene kind of confused me. It kind of looked flirty, but then it was sort of dropped, so that was weird too. A lot of the relationship dynamics are getting a little bit tangled for me, a little bit more angsty than I want, but also maybe this would have had me riveted if I had read this when I was, how old are they now? 15? But anyway, I did enjoy watching Percy and Annabeth progress, even if some of the drama felt unnecessary to me. I enjoyed watching them progress. I think that they're cute together. I like the way Rick is writing them, just them, not all the external stuff. I'm enjoying that part of it. I thought it was pretty interesting that the labyrinth ended up being, I was wondering how we were going to end up in this labyrinth, and I thought it was pretty interesting that that this time Annabeth got a quest. I mean, you know, here's the formula. We gotta have a quest. We gotta go out. We gotta try to save the day. Annabeth has the quest this time. They all go off together in this labyrinth and, you know, trying to prevent Luke from getting into Camp Half-Blood through the labyrinth. And I really enjoyed this. I thought that this was a really cool way of exploring new territory, and the labyrinth itself was very Greek mythological. I don't know the right way to say it. There were a lot of creatures, and Greek mythology isn't something I'm well versed in. It's not something that I really have that much interest in, but it was cool because I recognized a lot of these creatures from watching The Labyrinth with David Bowie growing up, and a lot of these creatures that showed up here I recognized from that movie. So I was like, hey, I can picture this. I know what this looks like. I mean, I was probably just picturing the puppets from the movie that I grew up watching, but I probably didn't even really pay attention to Rick's description of them now that I think of it, because I'm definitely just superimposing. But that's okay. It made it feel relatable to me, and I liked that. I especially really enjoyed the Sphinx because of how much it irritated Annabeth that the Sphinx wasn't doing things the way Annabeth thought the Sphinx wasn't doing the proper riddles. She was just kind of quizzing them. There were a lot of really funny moments like that where it's like, kids, quit arguing, just take your blessing and move. But she was like, this is an insult to my intelligence. Percy, oh my goodness, that one thing where they were trying to save the family, and Percy made that deal, I'll clean up the stables or else you can just have my friends, and he didn't even ask their permission to bargain them like that. Oh my goodness. There were a lot of really fun shenanigans they got into in this one. I think a lot of times the shenanigans that they get into in each book start to feel like, all right, fine, yeah, we're facing another creature. Okay, yeah, we're doing another thing as we're going on our journey to complete our quest. You know, to me, I kind of casually enjoy everything, and I think I enjoyed this one a little bit more because all the different creatures that they faced, for whatever reason, I liked it. I thought the quest, I thought that the little adventures, the little mini adventures that they kept hitting along the way were a lot more fun this time. I had a good time with it. Oh, Tyson's back in this one, which I didn't expect. One of my big problems with book 2 was that Tyson just seemed like some sort of convenience. He just showed up to serve a purpose so that plot could happen, and then he disappeared, and then we were done with him. And I was just like, this was dumb. So he's back now. And while Tyson isn't my favorite character, I am glad that he's back, because it makes book 2 feel less, why did we even do this? And I really like his dynamic with Grover, this big, intimidating Cyclops that's like afraid of this little satyr. I thought that was really cute. And I liked Tyson a lot more in book 4. I think I was able to get a lot more attached to him this time around. So yeah, just in general, I had a good time with the dynamics of the characters. I had a good time with the growth of the characters, and the little misadventures that they get into were really fun. Luke is now possessed by Kronos, which I guess I'm not surprised by. I'm waiting for the climax of all of this because I feel like I've been drug along for a long time with, you know, Luke is in cahoots with Kronos without the big conflict. So I'm excited to get to that in book 5 whenever I do get to book 5. And and then in the end when I can't remember his name, Percy's soon-to-be stepdad asked Percy permission to marry his mom. I thought that was really, really cute. I really liked that. In general, my feelings are kind of the same with this book as the last 3 books, well, as book 1 and 3 have been, where I'm casually enjoying. I'm enjoying this. They're nice little reads. I don't love them as much as the fandom wants me to love them, but I am having a good time reading them. So that's good. Spoiler free for Legendborn. This is, like I said, it's a YA urban fantasy / contemporary fantasy. It's a King Arthur retelling or a variant on that myth, which I don't know anything about King Arthur. I don't think I've ever read a King Arthur book. I know hardly anything about King Arthur in general. So this was all really new to me. Apparently, I keep picking up books based on things that I don't have a lot of knowledge on, but I really enjoyed the way this author, let me tell you the author's name, Tracy Deonn. I really enjoyed the way Tracy handled this story. So the general premise is our main character, Bree, is off to, I think she called it like a pre-college, and it's this contemporary setting, which I'm super not used to for my fantasy books. And essentially, so she has recently lost her mom. So grief is a big subject in this book and a big exploration for our main character. And then she ends up getting caught up in this situation with descendants of King Arthur, and their goal is to protect the humans from these demon creatures that are trying to harm them. That's the really boiled down basic version of it. I don't typically read urban fantasy, and I very rarely connect with it. So it did take me, while I connected with Bree immediately, and I connected with her exploration of grief immediately, just right off the bat, I loved her exploration of grief in the more contemporary setting beginning. And then once we started entering into magical stuff and urban fantasy stuff, it took me a while to connect with it because this isn't my brand of fantasy. But let me tell you, this was so well done because we have our basic society that we're getting used to and all their rules and everything that Bree needs to get used to and get to know here in the beginning. And then from there, we meet a lot of new characters and new situations that teach us about different branches of magic that just expands it wider and wider and wider. And some of these different branches of magic are so interesting. I really enjoy. I mean, if an author is going to convince me to like a type of fantasy that I don't typically read or connect with or like, this author did it. She did such a great job of making this all feel connected and all the different types of magic that we get to learn about in very slowly and very cohesively into the story. It was so engaging. And this author, she does such a great job of making me be able to see everything. She describes everything in such an immersive way so that I can perfectly picture everything. I think if I have criticism, sometimes the action scenes I didn't care for, but other than that, I felt everything was so immersive, and I was interested in Bree's personal struggles and her personal, what she was going through and what she was exploring. And I was interested in the relationship dynamics, and I was interested in the social dynamics that she was having to get tangled up in. Okay, I'm kind of all over the place because I literally just finished this book, so let me try to hone my thoughts a little bit better here. One other thing, other than the magic and the immersion into this world that this author did so well, is she did such a great job with the relationships. We have so many different characters that Bree has to interact with, and some of them, keeping it spoiler free, the arcs in the relationships were really well done, and it was so fun to see where each of them ended up going. There's really strong friendships that were already established when the book came in that I loved watching the characters. I loved watching them have new tension with this new situation that they're in and how they move forward from that. I love the new relationship dynamics that came in with new friendships and new difficult relationship dynamics that they had to navigate. And there was also a romantic relationship that I really liked the way she wrote that too. And I am hard to win over for romance, especially romance in fantasy. I just think she writes relationship dynamics, and there's a lot of different types of relationship dynamics that she explores in this book. She writes them all so well. Now, moving forward, we're going to talk about internal struggles because there's grief, and Bree is going through a deep exploration of grief as she's processing her mom's loss, as well as trying to, a big part of her motivation is in that grief and in what happened to her mom. And then there's also an exploration of racism. And I think that the author handled both of these so well. She did such a great job of integrating these so naturally into the story and having really deep conversations in more nuanced yet blunt ways. She hit it right how I like these deeper discussions within fantasy or within whatever genre to be hit. I think she had such a great balance of not like bashing us over the head with what she was trying to discuss, but also not being so nuanced that the readers could miss it. Like the conversations were right there, and we leave the book with so much to think about and to continue discussing. She did so well with that too. Overall, I'm really impressed with Legendborn. I'm definitely going to be reading more from this author. I think that she's very, very skilled in the way she handled a genre that I'm not a type of fantasy that I'm not interested in, and yet I enjoyed reading this book so daggum much. She even wrote in a perspective and tense that I don't like. She wrote in first person present tense. I don't like that. I'm not a huge fan of first person in general. I really don't like present tense. And this book is written in first person present tense, and I forgot it bothered me in the beginning, but I forgot after I got into the story, and every now and then I'd read something that would jar me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot we're in a type of writing that I don't like. Oh well, back to the story. I had a great time. This was a really good book. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on Percy Jackson Book 4 and Legendborn. I had a great time reading both of these. If you plan to read them or have already read them, I would love to discuss them more with you. I post videos every Tuesday through Friday. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.